Hi, my name's Shawn Jansen. I'm joined by Shawn Lynch, and this is the Shawn and Shawn Show. It's playoff time. We're getting ready for postseason games this week. We wrapped up the regular season, some nice wins. Los Palos wins the crosstown clash to go undefeated in the WAC. Big win for Dustin Carapresso and those guys. Mariposa beats LeGrand to claim a share of the Southern League title, and Merced finished off a perfect run through the CCC.
Yeah, no real surprises in the CCC the last week of the season. All those rivalry games not particularly close, and the team we kind of thought would come out on top took care of business.
Yeah, I almost had an accident while I was tweeting out the scores on Friday night. I think it was 33-0 in the first quarter. There's the smiley face emoticon that's right next to the period on the tweet. Luckily, somehow I had pressed that, and it was going to have the Merced score 33-0 with a smiley face. Luckily, I caught that before it tweeted out, and I was able to put the period in. That could have been bad.
Would not have been well received by the Golden Valley fans out there.
So here's some sights and sounds from last week, and then we'll break down the brackets. All right, let's start with the Central section. We got two teams in the playoffs. In Division IV, Chowchilla has a bye. They're the number 5 seed. They're going to open up at number 4, Golden West. Good season for Chowchilla. They go in at 7-3. We had our doubts going into the season with their lack of numbers, but they really did a good job competing and to get a 5 seed. They got a chance to do some things in the playoffs.
I want to say they're 6-4 actually.
6-4.
I think it's added up. They dropped those last two. It's probably what sent them to the 5 seed as opposed to getting the home game here. They're taking on Golden West, a team from Visalia. Needless to say, we don't know much about them, but looking at some of the games they played, it seems like a winnable game on paper. And then sitting in the second round for them would be that Liberty team that they just took on last week. I imagine they would want a little revenge and an opportunity to play them again. So I see Chowchilla moving on here, and then we'll see what happens in the second round for them. Yeah, but they'll be off this week. They get a week to kind of get healthy, both teams will, and then they'll get going next Friday. In Division V, Dos Palos, they're going to open up at number 6, Carruthers, a team that they played early on this year. Yeah, first game of the season. Dos Palos got the win, actually, 20-14. It seems like Carruthers is playing much better football since then. I want to say they ended up as like a 7-3 team, something like that. But obviously it's a game that Dos Palos has to have a little confidence going into here, having already seen them and having already defeated them. All right, let's go ahead and move to the Sac-Joaquin section. We're going to start in Division VII. We're Stone Ridge Christian. They got to like where they're sitting in this bracket at 8-2. They do play this week. They host Forest Hill. It's going to be the first home playoff game in the school history for Stone Ridge Christian. A very winnable game for them. Looking at the brackets, looking at the other conference that basically consists of the other half of the bracket, and it seems like the CCAA is a much stronger conference this year. And all signs point to this being between Elliott Christian and Stone Ridge Christian, possibly for a section final. They're facing Forest Hill in the first round. They haven't seen each other, but what we can tell you is the Delta team, who was the league champ from the SMAL, whatever that league is.
Small.
Stone Ridge played them earlier in the year and beat them 49-0. And if you want, mutual opponents, that Delta team then went on and beat Forest Hill later on in the season 50-8. So it doesn't appear on paper that this is going to be a particularly close first round game for Stone Ridge.
Yeah, I mean, Forest Hill started the season losing their first 4 games. They were able to kind of right the ship in the middle of the season, but they've lost their last 2. Bailey Dahlhoff's had quite a season for Stone Ridge Christian. He had 7 touchdowns last week against Brookside Christian to bring his season total to 30 touchdowns. He's rushed for over 1,500 yards. I expect to see plenty of him against Forest Hill on Friday night. Moving on to Division 6, we've got Gustine in this bracket. The Redskins will open up against Bradshaw Christian. Bradshaw Christian, the team that likes to run the ball, they're averaging over 400 yards per game. The Redskins are really going to have to concentrate on stopping Grant Dagmeyer, who's run for 1,400 yards and 18 touchdowns. Gustine comes out at 7-3. Chance for them, this seems like a pretty even matchup with both these teams.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Bradshaw Christian likes to run the ball kind of plays into Gustine's strength, which is that defense and being smash mouth and kind of going head to head and winning the battles in the trenches. The one thing I'll give the nod to Bradshaw here is it's a team that's in the playoffs every single year. They seem to be battling for section titles almost every year. So it's going to be a team with experience, whereas Gustine, this whole group's getting there for the first time.
And Gustine's had some tough games. I think they're battle ready.
Yeah.
They got that 300 monster with their rushing attack with Nicholas Figueroa, Sebastian Figueroa, and Daniel Sims. But I think this is going to be one of the closer games here in this bracket. If you look at this bracket, I think everybody's predicting a 1 and 2 to meet in the finals here. Capital Christian versus Modesto Christian. Both these teams are league champs. Modesto Christian's only loss was, I think, a 1-point loss to Capital Christian at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So we expect those teams to face each other at the Great Bowl. All right, moving on to Division 5. We got 2 teams in this bracket with LeGrand and Mariposa. Like we said, the Grizzlies knocked off LeGrand last week. LeGrand is the 5 seed. They're going to head to Houston, the number 4 seed on Friday. And Mariposa's at home against Amador. Mariposa drawing the 3 seed, and they'll face number 6. Should be an interesting matchup with LeGrand and Houston.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another one of those power games, particularly with LeGrand not having Christian Williams available. Mm-hmm. He obviously didn't play in the Mariposa game, and that was a big difference for them there. So it's going to be a whole lot of Carlos Iniguez all the time, just pounding the ball on the ground. And that's what Houston likes to do. They got a 1,200-yard back in Cesar Cuevas. So I think whichever team could be the more physical and kind of win that line of scrimmage is going to be coming out on top in this one.
And I think LeGrand's going to kind of have a chip on their shoulder in this game. They felt that they should have got a home game, being that their past history, winning all the section titles. They thought that would have mattered a little bit. And even with them winning a co-championship, they thought that they should be at home. But they're going to open up on the road. Let's talk about Mariposa here at the 3 seed. Coming in, Kamari Bailey in the running game. He had a big game against LeGrand. This could be another nice, interesting matchup here. Amador, another team that likes to keep it on the ground. And then you got Bailey and Aaron Lima kind of leading the offense for Mariposa.
Yeah, long trip for Amador. Got to go out to Mariposa, but they're used to playing in mountain towns, playing in the Motherlode League. Yeah, I mean, Mariposa's got to be feeling good coming in this one. They got the game at home. They just knocked off LeGrand. It sounds like they're starting to click a little bit after sputtering kind of in the middle of the league play there. So I think Mariposa's got a good shot in moving on here.
And looking at the bracket, this is where we see the difference in the playoff system from last year to this year. You look at the number 1 seed, Bear River, a bigger school than LeGrand's used to competing with in the playoffs. And Colfax, the number 2 seed. I think most people feel those are going to be the 2 teams that meet for the championship here, with Bear River as a favorite.
Yeah, I mean, Bear River, we know them from taking on Pacheco, I think the first game of the season. But, they didn't exactly dominate everybody that they've played also. So there could be potential for some upsets there. We'll have to see how it plays out.
All right, moving on to Division 4. Los Banos gets the 3 seed after the big win in the crosstown clash. They're going to face number 6 Dixon. You got Central Catholic as the 1 seed here, and Sonora as the 2 seed. Talking to Dustin Carapresso over the weekend, he kind of liked where they fit in the playoffs. First, they were glad that they fell to Division 4, not up there in the juggernaut that is Division 3. And he kind of likes where they're at here with the chance to kind of make a run here in the playoffs.
I kind of agree with him. I see them facing off against Central Catholic for the section title here. Dixon seems like a very winnable game, especially the way they're playing, the way they went and really took over that game in the second half against Pacheco last week, forced some fumbles, just really pounded them in the second half. And then Sonora I saw take on Hilmar earlier in the season, and I definitely think that's a winnable game for them. Los Banos' defense has really impressed me the last 3 weeks or so. And I think their speed and their physicality could really give Sonora some fits.
Well, I think that's going to be a big difference when they get to the second round if both teams make it. Is you got Los Banos who played tough games, overtime games against Patterson and Livingston, and then having to beat Pacheco, or Sonora's just kind of been on a free ride since early on the season. They've just crushed the Mother Lode League. So they haven't even been in a fourth quarter game since they played Oakdale and Hilmar early on in the season.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to play to the Tigers' advantage. Los Banos, they've won 7 straight coming into this. You got to like the way they're playing. Adam Herrera been playing real well at quarterback. Daniel Fernandez, they really like the way he's running the ball right now. That kind of gives them a 1-2 punch in the running game. I think you're right. I think we see Los Banos against Central Catholic here. One of the matchups, I think Escalon Center is going to be a fun matchup there in the first round, 4 versus 5. Center's an athletic team.
Tough for Center to go to Escalon there, though.
Yeah. Talk about 2 different teams there as far as Escalon just trying to pound the ball and Center kind of a more wide open attack.
Yeah, and we saw some of that speed that Center possesses last year.
Yeah, when they faced Hilmar. Division 3, talk about somebody unhappy with their draw. David Snap at Pacheco. Felt that they were kind of robbed. He thought that they'd be like a 9 or a 10 here. They drop all the way to 14 after the loss and open up against Oakdale.
Yeah, going to the corral. Not just that, but Oakdale coming off of really destroying Central Catholic in their final game of the regular season, beating them by 20. Not much of a reward for a good season from Pacheco.
Yeah, you look at this, Division 3 is just loaded. You got Intercom as the number 1 seed. Then the VOL kind of takes up to 2, 3, and 4 with Sierra at number 2, Oakdale at 3, and Manteca at 4. And I think you could see three VOL teams in the semifinals here.
Yeah, that's definitely very possible. I know a lot of people out there like that Intercom squad. We haven't seen them so far, but you don't tend to get the number 1 seed for no reason.
Yeah, one thing that you hear about Intercom is the speed that they have, and that's going to be hard to match up, especially for these VOL teams that are more smash-mouth football type teams. Oakdale against Pacheco, I think this is just a tough draw. Pacheco, what's hurt them in their losses is kind of just the self-inflicted wound, the fumbles, and not finishing drives. And they can't afford that against Oakdale, and they're going to have to try and slow down Frankie Trent in that Mustangs running game.
Yeah, like you said, the WAC was pretty solid this year. They've been in tough games all season. They took on Buhack, played them right down to the finish. They went and won a tough one on the road against Bear River. I think they're a battle-tested team, but for a team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, going and opening up at the Corral is going to be a tough challenge right there.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Division 2. We didn't have any local teams here, but let's kind of look at the bracket. You got Grant at 10-0 as a number 1 seed, kind of the overwhelming favorite here in this division. Elk Grove is a 2, St. Mary's is a 3. You saw them play against Buhack Colony, and Del Oro kind of 5-5, getting the number 4 seed just based off their strength of schedule in the league that they're in. Hard to pick against Grant in this bracket.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping Grant would stay D1 and the possibility for maybe a Grant and Folsom final out there, but that probably plays to Merced's advantage not having Grant up in D1. I don't see anybody that has offered much of a challenge to him so far this season. Elk Grove's been a good solid team. Del Oro's always there. Vacaville's always there. But they definitely look like the favorites going in.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some potential of these second round matchups here: Burbank against Elk Grove, Rockland against St. Mary's, Vacaville Del Oro. There's going to be some fun games going on, and games that are going to be tight, and who knows how it's going to shake out. But I think Grant's the overwhelming favorite here, and we could get that Grant Folsom game in a NorCal Bowl to see who goes to play for the Division I state title.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the Division I bracket, let's go ahead. I stopped out at Merced's practice to talk to Ulonzo Gilliam and Joe Moraga to talk about their matchup with Tokay. All right, we're here with Merced's Ulonzo Gilliam. You guys are getting ready for Tokay. How exciting is it with the playoffs just a couple days away?
Man, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling to know that we're going to the playoffs again. Hopefully we get past this first round of playoffs, we'll go to the second, and hopefully make it to sections. I'm just trying to help my team and trying to help me. We got a big opponent ahead of us, Tokay, and we're just trying to defend him, defeat him.
Talk about the running game with you, Jabbar and Bryce, and talk about how effective you guys have been, how you guys feed off each other.
Man, we feed off each other. We talk to each other every day about how we motivate each other, making us want to do better every day. We work with each other hard, and we just push each other.
Going up against Tokay, they got a receiver, LJ Reed, that's going to UCLA as a DB. Is that something, a challenge you're waiting for?
It's a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge. As a sophomore on varsity, I know I'm gonna come across a lot of challenges, and I'm just gonna try my hardest.
How's it changed now that you guys are in the playoffs as far as intensity and just getting ready, the preparation?
Practices are more intense. We're going faster. We're doing more in the weight room and getting stronger and watching more film.
Cool. All right. Well, good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're here with Merced offensive lineman Joe Moraga. Talk about how special was it winning league for you guys the second year in a row?
It's pretty special. My first year, junior year, to have them, my seniors have a repeat, and just I don't know, it just felt really special to me. For them to be all excited like that, it just gave me a different feeling for football. That's how it is, you know what I mean? To be a part of it, to be a starting junior and help them out with that has somewhere in my heart, you know what I mean?
Talk about how well this offensive line works together to make holes for your running backs and give Tyrone time to throw.
Well, it comes down to us hanging out a lot, you know what I mean? So we're all friends, we're all really good friends, so it's not like we're like distant friends, you know what I mean? We just play together on the same team. But we're all really close to each other, and we all have our fun and games with each other, but when it comes down to business, we know we need to take care of it, and we all make each other stronger in every type of way, helping each other out. So,
do you guys take pride when you guys break off long runs or score touchdowns?
Definitely. We take as much pride as we want, because we know we did something there, you know what I mean? They might have broken a tackle, but the hole wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for us, but I'm happy. We have special people like my quarterback and my running back, and all my running backs. Everybody else is just everybody special on this team.
Talk about how special it is to be in the playoffs. How excited are you for Friday night?
Pretty excited. Play Tokay. Never really heard of them, but I hope it's going to be a good game.
What are going to be keys for you guys to be successful in the playoffs?
It's definitely going to be our O-line, because that's definitely the place that we're going to need it the most. And then our running back's going to need to make plays, our quarterback's going to make throws. So it's going to come down to the entire team making everything, executing, defense making stops. It's going to come down to everything.
Cool. All right. Well, good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Division I bracket. You got the number 1 seed Folsom. I don't think anybody's picking against the Bulldogs here. 10-0. They got Jake Browning, who set records for passing. I think he probably owns every record in the book. He's going to the University of Washington. That team's just loaded. They got a big offensive line. They got speed, talented receivers, physical defense. There's a reason they're the big favorite here at D1.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's been able to come close to them in the section the last, 3 years now?
Yeah, I mean, the only team that's beaten them has been De La Salle in the last couple of years.
So, I mean, they're a machine. It doesn't look like this is the year that they're going to be getting tripped up. It's just kind of a matter of who's going to be facing them along the way, I think. Yeah,
you got Merced here. They get the number 4 seed at 8-2. The good thing about getting the 4 seed, you get 2 playoff games. You get a nice matchup, I think, with Tokay. I think a team that Merced should handle pretty handily. And the bad thing is, though, that if you win your first 2 games, you get matched up against Folsom in the semis.
Yeah.
I think they kind of wish they were down there on the bottom side of the bracket, a number 3 seed over Granite Bay, but Jesuit gets the 2 and Granite Bay gets 3. Let's talk about Merced's matchup against Tokay. Tokay is 7-3, not the toughest of schedules, not a lot of quality wins here. I like the Bears here by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think the glaring loss for Tokay to me is a 35-6 loss to Downey early in the season. We've gotten a chance to see that Downey team, and they're not the team that Merced played on their home field a few years ago. It's not of that quality, and the fact that they handled Tokay is pretty indicative, I feel, of how this one's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have their transfer, LJ Reed, who's going to UCLA, the receiver in that game. He didn't come on until mid-season. But you look at that, some of the games, that Downey loss, they lost to Tracy 34-7, and they lost to St. Mary's 32-0. I mean, those are 3 playoff teams, probably teams comparable to Merced, and they weren't in those games. So
Yeah.
I think that works to Merced's favor. Let's talk about LJ Reed. He's a big receiver. He's going to UCLA. Tokay's not a team that passes a lot. They're kind of a double wing team. LJ Reed has 20 catches for 364 yards and a couple touchdowns. They like to run the ball with Jeffrey Evans, who has 702 yards and 7 touchdowns. They've thrown, which is funny here, Grayson Dillon, their quarterback, has thrown for 1,741 yards. That's actually more yards than Tyrone Williams has thrown, but Williams has thrown 20 touchdowns and far less attempts.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how efficient Merced's been. The defense has turned the ball over, given the offense short fields to work with, and Merced's capitalized in 1 or 2 plays. I mean, we talked about the season that Jabbar Bird could have had. He's been getting, 5 to 10 touches a game. I mean, it just hasn't been necessary with how the CCC's gone for a lot of these guys to be in there the whole time or to get the number of reps that they might otherwise get. So you can't do it just all based off of numbers, because I think they would have put up some special numbers if it had ended up being a little more competitive along the way.
Well, it's interesting. You look at the 2 running backs for Merced. Jabbar Bird has 1,058 yards and 14 touchdowns, and Gilliam, in kind of a reserve role, has 521 yards and 6 touchdowns. You put those 2 together, you're talking about a 1,500, 1,600 yard back with 20 touchdowns. It's averaging about 9 yards per carry there. That's some explosiveness on offense.
Yeah, no, and they got fairly similar styles. They're both not, willing to run between the tackles, but if you get them off tackle, they're incredibly dangerous. They'll beat you with speed. They're not afraid to lower their pad level, power through. It's definitely a talented tandem. And then you have all those Merced receivers to worry about in addition. I like them here. I think the second round for them is going to be the really interesting one.
Yeah, you're calling for a Monterey Trail upset over Casumas Oaks.
I am. I'm calling for it now. They had single score losses to Elk Grove and Jesuit on the season. I just think they played a much tougher schedule than Casumas Oaks did, and they played them tough. They were in most of those games. So I think Monterey Trail is going to be the one coming to Merced on November 21st.
Yeah, the Monterey Trail team's a tough team to prepare for. They run that veer, and those running backs just go boom, straight ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, they're straight ahead towards the end zone. They try and get you on tempo to kind of line up and get going and just wedge off a blocking attack, and they just kind of hit those A-gaps. Who do you see here in the semifinals in this? I mean, you got Folsom at one semifinal.
I don't know. Without knowing more about Monterey Trail, it's tough to say. I'd say they probably have the edge based off of competitiveness down the stretch. They're coming from a much tougher league this year than the CCC was. But I think that's definitely a winnable game for Merced. So I don't know. I'll say toss-up at this point in time. On the other side, I like Granite Bay, and I think Jesuit's going to be there also.
Yeah, I'd probably take Chalk. I'd probably take the top 4 seeds here: Folsom, Merced, Granite Bay, and Jesuit. I think one of the more entertaining matchups here in the first round is going to be Tracy against Turlock. 2 teams that met before in a close game that was high scoring. I think it was like 44-42, something like that. Tracy, you saw Turlock last week. They're really playing well going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I like the play of Bubba Moreno. I like the fact that they have 3 or 4 receivers they can get the ball to. They kind of opened up their run game in the second half against Pittman by throwing the ball all over the place in the first half, and then they really pounded Pittman on the ground in the second half. So I think they're a team that's playing well. I think they're a team that, I mean, all their losses, they've been in those games. Nobody has just handled Turlock so far on the season, really. Like single point loss to Oakdale. They probably should have won the Modesto game. Talking to those coaches, they adamantly feel they should have beaten Merced in the rain-soaked game. So, it's a team that is definitely looking to win here on the road, and I think they're fully capable of it. Don't think they got what it takes to play Jesuit in the second round, but we'll have to see there.
I think what you're going to see in this first round is a lot of blowouts.
Yeah.
I think outside of Turlock Tracy and Casumas Oaks Monterey Trail, I think Franklin Elk Grove goes in, and I think they beat Modesto as a 9-8 there in that Saturday game. But I think you're going to see a lot of lopsided scores here until we get to the second round.
Yeah, I didn't feel like Pittman was a team that was doing well going into the playoffs. They looked like they were headed the wrong direction.
Plus they got banged up.
Yeah, lost their fullback to a broken wrist. One of their tailbacks went out with an ankle injury. So, yeah, a little insult to injury on that one for Pittman.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week, provided that we got more teams still alive. But
based on our predictions, at least half of them should still be going.
I was talking to Dustin Carapresso. I mean, we picked against Los Banos so much, and they just keep winning. And I asked him if we should pick Dixon on this, and he just kind of laughed and then just said, "You guys just do what you want to do, and we'll do what we do." That's going to do it for our show. Enjoy the games, and like I said, we'll probably be back next week.